This video is brought to you by Artistworks. Artistworks are part of TrueFire Studios, and they offer direct access to master musicians through their innovative online learning platform. Partnering with iconic musicians, they've crafted decades of industry experience into guided paths of online learning. Crucially, there's an option to get personalized feedback tailored specifically to your playing via their unique video exchange. Get direct guidance towards your playing goals. You can use the code GNC40 for 40% off of any of Artistworks courses. Chance to try and play quite a lot of guitars, obviously having made YouTube a thing I do, and for a while I kind of thought like we're seeing that the lower end of the market is kind of creeping up in value, but also in quality. And then also, things like Fender custom shops and like the custom shop Gibson Les Pauls are now like way over the £3,000 mark. And I feel like the middle class of guitars is sort of hollowed out a little bit, was kind of the thought that I've had. And in terms of recommendations of guitars that are between, the PRS SE kind of range and the Gibson Les Paul kind of price of a standard, somewhere between £1,000 and £2,000, there doesn't seem to be a crazy amount of choice. I'm not sure why that is. It seems like Epiphone prices are creeping up and up. To the point where they just put out the Zephyr Regent Deluxe for £1,450. I think as well the Epiphone Bonamaster 335, the prices on that have been creeping up. Obviously these are like the slightly limited editions, but this is what we've seen with the PRS SE series as well, where they're now sort of the DGT 1049, creeping up, so they're no longer really at the budget end, they're more in this mid-price. And I was thinking about guitars, and I think someone asked me about this as well. I think it might have been Chris. Dad's out running. And yeah, so the thought was, guitars that sit in this price range between £1,000 and £2,000 that are really, really great guitars. So I think there are a few options. There's Eastman. I did a video with that Eastman or maybe a week back. And also Maybach are a really good choice as well, having played a Maybach now, and I've got one. But I think one of the most consistent builders, and they've been this way for, what is it now? Since the 70s, so nearly 50 years, maybe more. These guitars are Tokai guitars. Now, I have played a few of these thanks to my friends at Rose Morris, or friend, I don't know if there's anyone but you there, Mike. And they've kindly given you guys, if you're watching this and you're interested in getting a new Tokai, the code 10% off John Tokai. It's imaginative. So just in case you're interested in grabbing one, I know a few of you have used the code in the past, and I'd love to know your thoughts on the Tokai guitars if you've got them. I think Steve, you grabbed a Tokai Strat recently, really impressed by it. I also had an Instagram exchange with a chap from Wales, I believe, Dewey, who's picked up this Tokai at a great price and couldn't be happier. Pretty alongside a mate's Gibson, and honestly, this matches it hit for hit. This is their top of the range model, I'd suggest. This is like the plain top Les Paul with a nitro finish. So that's one thing that Tokai do quite a lot of. They do a poly finish. The things that I've noticed with the Tokais is that they're all incredibly immaculately made. Great fretwork, incredibly cut nuts. Basically a top tier instrument, and I don't think anyone's really making more consistent guitars. They're quality guitars made in Japan by a team that have been making guitars forever. The specs are really nice. Like the neck is, I think, probably something 50s based. They call it asymmetrical U. What it feels like is definitely smaller than the 58 neck style, and definitely not a 60s slim, but just a really comfortable neck type. If there was one negative area, I suggest some of these can come in a little bit heavy. Now these are one-piece mahogany backs as well, which is again a great set of specs. You've got your proper maple cap. This one, the top of the range, has brass saddles on the bridge. I'm not sure if that makes a huge difference or not. The finish looks really, really kind of warm to the eye. And yeah, just a great guitar. This one weighs £9 and 2 ounces. So this is the thing about the weights of these, because they're not weight relieved. This is the thing with Gibsons as well, to be honest. They can tend to be a little bit on the heavier side. I think some people recognise that going into buying a Les Paul, that you're more than likely going to have a guitar that's sort of £8.5 to £10, somewhere in that range, and anywhere within that range is sort of normal. For me, I'd really love, a lighter Les Paul, to be honest with you. But yeah, great guitars. So this is their top of the range, but this is, I think, one of my favourites. This is the P90 version. I think it's got a 32 in the title of it. Poly finish, one-piece mahogany back. I really love the mahogany on the back of this thing. And again, just incredible guitars. Most of these stuff for Rose Morris, I don't get anything for, you know, showing these generally. They just, you know, I have this relationship with Mike, and I think there's some really cool guitars worth shouting about, and I like him. But they did let me have this one after Mike said to Tokai that I was doing some things. So this one I got to keep, and it's a really, really lovely guitar. Again, all the things that you like about a Les Paul, none of the things you don't. No finishing flaws whatsoever. Yeah, just great. This one weighs 9 pounds and 7 ounces, so a bit heavier than the top of the range Les Paul that they just sent me to check out. They come with really great cases as well. Another area maybe that you'd consider worthy of an upgrade or something like that, I'd suggest the pickups might be something you pay attention to. I think often they're using Goto pickups. I don't know if you've got opinions on those, but it doesn't seem to me that there's anything that immediately needs changing, but it could be one of those things where you think, well, I'd like to try some boutique pickups in there or something like that. And I think they'd be a really good candidate for that because they are fantastically made guitars in general anyway. And I think that's been the case for years. I can remember when I was a kid, like before the age of about 6, there was a guy that played at our church, and he had a Tokai, which probably would have been, you know, one of the sort of 80s, late 70s springy sound type guitars. And my dad told me back then that Tokai were making really good guitars. So I think it's been the case for years and years. Stevie Ray Vaughan also used one for a time once he'd fallen out with Fender, I believe. But yeah, just great guitars. And I think they do occupy that space really nicely between sort of £1,000 and £2,000, where you'll get an incredibly high quality instrument. You're not going to find flaws on them. All of the ones that I've seen are just fantastically built, play really well, sound really good, are impressive to play, look amazing. They kind of cover all of the bases, and I think have the best looking headstock out of any of the non-Gibson headstocks, which is a thing, right? So, of course, it's not a Gibson, so if you're worried about playing authentic, I guess that's something to think about. But I do think they are up there with Gibson in terms of build quality, probably, I guess, let me know your thoughts on this, but might even be better in terms of consistency, given that we see, you know, quite a lot of people. This might just be a factor of how many guitars Gibson actually build, but talking about some of the QC issues that Gibson do have, I think Tokai don't really seem to have those. They just build consistently great guitars. This one here, the latest thing that I got, the 130, the UES 130. This is actually a nitro finished ES335. I've done other videos on it, but just a beautiful looking instrument, beautiful playing instrument, just a fantastic guitar, and less than £8, I think 7.5, something like that. Just incredible. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Tokai, maybe the best brand between £1,000 and £2,000, possibly. I think Eastman, Maybach, other choices there, but whether you're going for these Gibson style guitars or the Strat style guitars, which I think are just tickling around £1,000, I think they're making some of the best instruments out there. And really, especially with the prices of other things knocking up over time, I think Tokai for a while were seeming like they were getting too close to Gibson prices. Now Gibson have upped their prices more. I do think that Tokai again look quite attractive, especially on the used market, where you can pick things like this up for about £1,200. You know, I don't think you're going to get a better guitar for that kind of money. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've got other suggestions. But Japan have been building great guitars, Tokai in specific, Fujigen as well, for, you know, decades now, and they've not stopped, basically. Just fantastic guitars. Thank you for stopping by. If you want to grab a Tokai from Rose Morris, there's that code John Tokai. You get 10% off, and yeah, they've got a few in stock. The Japanese stuff is where it's at for me. The Chinese stuff I think is probably fine too, but it's the Japanese, which I think really does stand in a league kind of its own at a price range where there isn't too much choice at the moment.